You're on.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 9th, 2018 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. And I have to start out by saying Happy New Year, and I apologize for the coldness in here. Maybe in the manager's report we'll get a little bit of find out what's going on. So, Ms. Marsh?
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, will be posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and is a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in a Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for the individuals serving our nation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Hurd is absent. Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mayor Wannerfield?
Here.
We have a quorum.
It says no presentations, but we're going to change this up a little bit. We do have, I'm going to let you go first. We have Quilting for a Cause here, so if you want to stand up, come to the microphone. Yes. And tell us a little about yourself.
First name and address.
Yes, for the
Rose
record.
Phelan, 76 3rd Street, Pequannock. I started a year ago a group in my living room. We didn't have a name, making quilts for the homeless. I had inherited a bunch of fabric, and I would make a quilt now and again, and my husband works in the city, so he would take it with him and hand it to somebody on the street as opposed to giving it to an organization. So after doing this for 1 month in our living room, it was obvious we needed more space, so we asked for permission to use the senior house, which is perfect for sewing. Easy to get in and out of, excellent lighting, lots of tables. So I came here tonight just for one reason, to thank Pequannock Township for all of your support, the council members for all of your support, the staff at Town Hall for all their support, especially Parks and Rec, Barb Malloy and Amy Dempsey, who I hound on a regular basis, begging for space or chairs or storage or something. So in 2017, we finished 702 quilts.
Wow.
Now, as a quilter, you would never make that. One person, you would not make that in your lifetime. That's a lot of quilts. We do the same thing. My husband takes them to New York City, and we dole them out to people on the street. This has become a really big community activity. If you're following us on Facebook, the Girl Scouts were with me on the first day in my living room, and then the Boy Scouts come and they set up all the tables and chairs and the sewing machines and all the other stuff that we have, and they also come to break down the room, which is very much appreciated because we're exhausted by then. Normally you don't sew for 8 hours either. It's, and we have a lot of volunteers who do not sew in any way, shape, or form. They will come and pin the quilts. You pin the 3 layers together, and for 8 hours, that's back-breaking, leaning over the tables. People who will iron for 8 hours, nobody likes to iron for 8 hours. So I just wanted to say thank you. This is a really big thing. Our youngest volunteer is 8 years old, and she sews like nobody's business, a Girl Scout. And our oldest volunteer is 89 years old. He lives in Hurl. He was I was going to say a seamstress. He used to sew for a living back in the day. He doesn't sew anymore, but he'll come and work for like 5 hours with us. He's amazing. So it's not a group of quilters. It's not a group of people who sew. It's a big group of people. There's over 200 people who have contributed to this. And that just says a lot about our town. There isn't anything that doesn't come up where the people aren't right there. Every day on my porch, there's fabric or thread or even stuff we don't need on my porch. They're leaving it at Parks and Rec. They leave it at the senior house. I get a call, come and get your mess. So I just want to say thank you. And we're going to have, in honor of our one-year anniversary, we're going to have a sew-a-thon on the weekend, starting 10 a.m. on Saturday morning till 10 a.m. on Sunday. So if you would like to stop in and see what we're doing, by all means, come in. All local businesses feed us. They bring us lovely breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which we're very appreciative. And it's just a really good thing. I think it's been really good for our community. It means a lot to me. This is one of the most important things I've ever done in my life, next to getting married and having children. It really makes a difference. I had never given out a quilt, 700 quilts. I never gave out one quilt. So after Christmas, Joe and I went to the city, self-serving. I wanted to have the experience of giving a quilt. I gave a quilt to a woman who was laying on the sidewalk. It was freezing the day we were in there, absolutely freezing. And she was laying on a pile of garbage, trying to insulate herself from the sidewalk. And I gave her a quilt. And, she said, thank you. Most people don't say a lot of things, but I will never forget this woman in my life, just that visual to make you sick. So we're not solving the homeless problem, but I think we're bringing a little more awareness to the problem, and, we're doing what we can with the help of me and 199 other people who donate all this stuff to make the quilts. So you see, just a few of our volunteers. I asked everybody to bring a quilt. We go to great lengths to pick out the color, and nobody who's living on the street could care less about the color.
Well, maybe you all look so awesome out there. Can you hold up your quilts? And Rich, can you get another picture? Yeah, hold them all. You guys are awesome. And what you're doing, it doesn't go unnoticed. If I had a little notice that you were coming tonight, we would have had
I found out this morning.
a proclamation.
I didn't want to make a big deal. I just wanted to come
I
say
know.
thank you.
Turn around so you can see it on the video.
On the video, yeah. Turn around and just hold up your quilts.
Go to the video.
There you go.
Not every town would allow us to do what we do or be so supportive and just help us as this thing just exploded. So, thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Excellent. Send them to your husband, okay?
Good job. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
so
we'll
much.
definitely stop in this weekend and see you. Awesome
Okay.
job.
And if you'd like to borrow a quilt for the evening, take the chill off, you're more than welcome.
Well, keep asking for what you need, too, because we don't know.
We do. I did this all through Facebook. And, we never wanted to take monetary donations because we're not a registered charity. I don't want to be an accountant or a bookkeeper or all those things. But when there was the horrible storm in Texas, we asked if we could use the senior house over Labor Day weekend. And we got all kinds of people, what can we bring, what can we bring? So we tell people quilt batting, they don't know what we're talking about. Quilt batting is the white stuff that goes in between the two layers of fabric. So people gave us gift cards, so now we have to start keeping track of this. And now to be a sponsor, it's $24. So now we have like a real bank account, and we're like official. We have a CPA and a lawyer and all those good things.
It always gets complicated, right?
So, yeah, which is a good thing in this case. It's a good thing. So it's just all on Facebook, and I've never asked for anything, ever, including pins, silly little things that you wouldn't think of. If I put it on Facebook, honest to God, it is on my porch the next morning.
That's wonderful.
In this basket, yeah. And at Christmas time, we had a little celebration. Instead of grab bag, we all brought socks, and we had like 339 pairs of socks. I asked a gentleman from New Jersey Food and Clothing Outreach, what's the number one thing the homeless ask for? Socks. They ask for socks before they ask for food.
Well, one thing that my son used to give out blankets in New York City with the youth group, and one thing they wanted was Metro cards so they could ride the Metro and stay warm.
Haven't heard that one.
Yeah, Metro cards so they can stay on legally and
Yeah.
ride and stay warm on those really cold nights.
We've learned a lot about homelessness as well. People talk about going to a shelter. It's not like you go check into a hotel.
No.
You wait online, and if they have a bed in a big open space, you get it.
Yeah, and they're scary places because they may
It
steal
is,
your things.
with scary individuals, and there's a tremendous amount of mental illness. To think of a homeless veteran, my father was in the military. I mean, that one really gets a lot of people, but there's a lot of mental illness that goes with that. Not all, but a lot.
Well, you're raising awareness.
Yeah.
Really big time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
All right.
Pequannock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Keep quilting. And you can stay or go. We won't be insulted either way. Oh, that's fine. Whatever you want to do.
One thing I forgot to mention is we have a lot of people who sew at home who can't come out on sick.
So they can contribute too?
Yes, so. Thanks.
Okay. At this time, are there reports or comments from any volunteers serving our community besides you? I just wanted you to go first, yeah. Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comments. The public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period of public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized and come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record.
My name is Richard Wiz, I live at 386 North Pompton Turnpike, Pompton Plains. My concern is about Woodland Lake. I put something on Facebook recently about who is in charge of actually testing the ice for the ice fishermen and things like that. Looked at the weather, it's going to be warm the next couple of days. Just want to know if there's something in place where they're going to be checking it again for safety for people, especially the people that don't really have too much common sense that might want to wander out there on a 60-degree day.
Dave?
What else do I have here? How often is it checked? Was the ranger down there today, the last couple days? Also, with the fishing contest that we have every year, it happens to fall on the same day as the Little League Parade. And what happens is the kids cannot go to the Little League Parade and the fishing contest at the same time. It used to not be like that. I was just wondering if anything could be changed.
Dave, I can probably answer. I was at the Parks and Rec meeting last night.
Okay.
I believe yesterday was the first day that the signs did come down.
Yes.
We had someone out there drilling holes in all different areas of Woodland Lake.
Yes.
And now that the sign is down, they will be drilling holes every day.
Okay, it's just my concern because, it's going to get warm again. I actually was with Forrest and Danny when they went out there and did it, and I got a personal response
That's what,
from those
that's what they
guys.
said last night at the Parks and Rec.
Awesome, I really appreciate it.
It's a scary thing.
It is, and, one accident is too many.
Right,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
So I just wanted to make sure that there's a system in place that they're going to be doing it.
Right. But
And I
if they
think the
feel that
Little
they-
League thing was corrected too. Didn't they work on that?
I thought it was corrected this year.
I think last year it was
Yeah,
corrected.
we did changing it last year, but we'll double check.
You do? Okay. all
You know
right.
what the date is?
I don't off the top of my
All
head.
right.
And I said, I live in town here. If you guys need any help doing anything like that?
Yeah, I think last year they fixed it.
They
The
did.
first year,
Wonderful.
yeah.
I appreciate it.
Definitely moved.
But we always have
last
to
year. We
watch.
have to check.
Okay, yes, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great, thank you
No,
very
thank
much.
you.
All right.
Anyone else? Going once? Okay. Okay. At this time, we reached our 30 minutes, but it wasn't 30
There's
minutes.
a woman in the back.
Oh, where?
Hand up.
Oh, come on up, Janice. I didn't see the polls, right?
I know, the angle of the pole is bad.
It's
here.
perfect.
Janice Mangieri, 17 Foothills Drive, Pompton Plains. I wanted to talk about the skate park, big surprise. Actually, Ryan had inspired me last week because we were talking about interest and lack of interest and how many people were interested and how many people, if we have had any surveys or anything. So what I did was I pulled the records from the Boys and Girls Club, the Pequannock Sports, the Pequannock Little League, Parks and Rec for 2017. And I got a list of how many kids are involved in each sport. And these are all, paid events that are put on through these different clubs. It does not include any school clubs at all, no middle school clubs and no high school clubs. And what I found was soccer, 822 kids, basketball, 641, baseball, 801, street hockey, 334, chess club, 61, cheerleading, 84, lacrosse, 33, football, 110, volleyball, 281, tennis, 54, yoga, 104, Senior aerobics, 46. All sorts of sports, which is a little kid thing that just does everything to introduce them, 56. Swim, 223. And skateboard, 33. Now, that's a total of 3,683 kids in activities. So some kid could be in 5 activities, some kid can join the same activity 6 times. But the total number is 3,683 for the sports I just mentioned. Skateboarding is less than 1% of that total. So that was the nearest thing I could find to anything that actually gave us the numbers of what the interests are in skateboarding. I don't know if anyone wants a copy of this. I have it color-coded, and so you can tell exactly who is where. I don't know if anyone's
You
interested.
could give a copy to the clerk, and she'll give copies to everybody. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions on it or anything? That was all I really wanted to bring forth was...
I don't think until...
That was the only thing I could see that showed, you know, who put their money where their mouth is and joined one of these sports. Thank you.
Thanks. Did I miss anyone else? I don't want any with the polls. Okay. As previously noted, the public comment is closed, and we'll move on. There's no public hearings this evening, so next on the agenda is ordinances. Ms. Marsh.
For introduction this evening is ordinance number 2018-01, an ordinance amending Chapter 185 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Pequannock. It's about records and service rates.
Is records the right word?
Towing.
Yeah.
It is.
It is. That's what records. It just sounds wrecking.
It's kind of outdated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wrecking.
Comes from pirate days.
You have anything, Mr. Holberg, anything to add?
No, this is what we discussed at the last meeting in December.
Okay. Any comments from council?
Nope.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Is there a motion to introduce the ordinance on first reading?
I'll make a motion to approve the record ordinance.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. The next agenda item is resolutions. Ms. Marsh?
There's only one resolution for the council's consideration tonight, and it's Resolution R 2018-40, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations.
Okay. Any comments? No. Council?
Nope.
No.
Is there a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2018-40.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Okay, next item is items for discussion. Melissa, I believe that was an item you brought forward?
Yeah, I did. So I'll just start by saying I just wanted to explore some of the possible benefits of participation in the Community Energy Aggregation Program, which would be a savings for our town residents if we decide to move forward. Basically, this came up because I've been having discussions with Wendy Molnar from Concord Energy and Alan Zakin from Business Development. He's in the audience with us tonight if we have questions. And the reason we put it on as a discussion is to see if we just want to have a brief 10-minute presentation from this company, to see if we want to move forward. There's about 40 municipalities, actually a little bit over 40 municipalities in Concord's program, which is supported by the Board of Public Utilities. Some of the municipalities are hosting their own program, but I think most are in a cooperative, and that's basically your choice, whether you do it on your own or in a co-op, but there's probably no difference in pricing, and Alan's here to answer any of those questions, or we can get them answered in the presentation. Currently, there's a Morris area cooperative. The towns involved, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, are Riverdale, Lincoln Park, Long Hill, Florham Park, Rockaway Borough, Mount Arlington, Mendham, and Wharton, which is the host town. So that's of the the Morris area, but there's at least 40 involved. Some of them are on their second round. So, I just wanted to invite the representatives from Concord, and if we want somebody from the BPU to give a brief presentation. They said it's only about 10 minutes, and then it depends on questions. One of the Morris County mayors is willing to come as well and talk about how it's helped his town residents. The way we look at it, or the way they look at it, is any savings that you can pass on to the residents without any effort on their part is beneficial. I think some of the towns are seeing 10 to 12% savings. Is that the correct number? We have to, I don't know what the exact updated numbers are, but...
They vary, but they've all had savings.
Right.
Anywhere from 5%.
Right, on the energy part, not the delivery part. Some people
Now, is this,
are confused on that.
is this different than what we talked about before? David, this is the same thing that we talked about a year or so ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, we figure just to have the presentation might not hurt, because more and more municipalities seem to be coming on board. They seem to be seeing a benefit. You probably did see, we talked about this a year or so ago, where we said, it's the effort and the savings isn't that much, and we see the drop-off from the resident. Like, residents can participate, I guess, on their own, but they don't.
No, you're part of a collective.
Well,
But do you have to be in it?
No. You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. You don't have to be in it. If we decide to do it, we pass an ordinance or a resolution, automatically the residents would see a savings. If they decide they don't want to be part of it, they can opt out, no penalty, no anything, and we're guaranteed a savings from what I hear. Alan, do you want to come up to the podium and say a few words to just...
Yeah, Alan, give us your elevator speech
your take
here.
on it? Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I know you have a big agenda, and
It is?
okay. I get other places to go. But anyway, Melissa did a very good job of explaining it.
Excuse me.
Councilwoman.
Could you provide your full name?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I'm Alan Zakin, A-L-A-N, Z like zebra, A-K-I-N, and I'm a marketing representative for CUC Concord that's sanctioned by the state to provide residential energy aggregation services. And one thing particularly about this program, it was enabled by legislation because a lot of people had been getting phone calls, they'd been getting solicited, they were offered guaranteed savings or airline miles to sign up for a program, and then they found that they were locked in and their rates skyrocketed after a few months, or they couldn't get out of the program. So that's why this legislation, it just seems almost too good to be true, but you can talk to the other mayors and you could see that it is sanctioned by legislation, and it guarantees the savings because you see your current, there's an auction by the state right now, and that's, as Councilman Phelan said, that's the supply of energy, the actual energy, the supply itself is by auction by the state. What we do is we get a group of towns, so we have a smaller group which allows more bidders that couldn't bid on the whole state because they're not large enough. When you have more bidders, then the prices tend to go down, and we've been able to guarantee savings. But because of the legislation, if somehow our auction had a higher rate, you revert automatically to the state rate, and that's by legislation. And if people don't want to be in it, they can opt out, and we have an 800 number to call, and you're not calling out of state or out of the country. It's right here in New Jersey, and we could also put a link on your website so you could click on a link and opt out automatically. And we also, there'd be no cost to the town itself. It would be very easy. We have a draft ordinance that the other members of the co-op use, and we have draft resolutions, and any outside costs you'd have if you have to have your attorney look at it. And I believe your attorney already oversees a program in Riverdale. You're the attorney in Riverdale as well, where they have the program. And I think the prior mayor instituted it, and the current mayor, Corelli, has kept it going. going. So it's been fairly successful, but any fees or costs, we would reimburse you for those, and as well, we'd help publicize it. We'd do meetings with seniors, we'd do mailings, phone calls, and that would be at our expense to promote it. Again, we'd encourage you, it's hard to cut costs these days, so this would be one way, even though it might be small, $5 or $10 per resident perhaps per month, but it's a savings that they could have and enjoy and choose to use that money however they want.
Well, I think it's worth a presentation.
Yeah.
I don't know, the rest of the council.
Absolutely. It sounds like a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
Right. I think there was a lot of fear from those other companies that were doing
There was
those
a lot
things.
of scams in the past.
Yeah, and that's where the misconceptions have happened. In Florham Park, there was an issue where somebody who had worked for one of those companies said, well, this is going to be a scam, and there was an uproar, and then we had we came into a special meeting and explained what would happen, and they've...
Well, there's some experience now.
Yeah, you could check with Mayor Taylor, and after that, people were very satisfied, and we came to the next meeting in case anyone was upset and no one
Well, I think you should work with David, the township manager, and Carol about getting on our agenda. I don't see any, just to make sure we don't have too many presentations in one night so we can give it the proper, attention.
And I promise if it's a lot of work, then you put it off till it's not, but I think you'll find it's not a lot of work on your part. And again, we would pick up any costs.
You're all in favor?
Let me just ask. Yeah, we're in the favors. Let me just ask a quick question. So we go into this co-op, and suddenly my bill comes in the mail, and I'm in this co-op, and I didn't know I was in this co-op. There's got to be a way for us to let our citizens know, our residents know, that suddenly you're now in a co-op.
Well, that's where I said we would have to do, there'd be marketing, and we would pick up that expense, and that we would work with you to make sure we're contacting them in the right way. We've done everything in a combination thereof of seminars where we've invited people, we've had meetings at senior centers, meetings at community centers, we come to the public meetings, and we'd also do postcards, robocalls, whatever you think is the best way, or a combination of ways to reach people. Obviously, press releases in your newspapers, whatever your...
It's just residential.
Right, and it's only for residential.
Not commercial.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, commercial, residential, it's the way the legislation was written, it can only be residential. Any commercial businesses can opt in themselves, and they can join it at their discretion.
How does that work with planned community like Cedar Crest?
They have to be purchasing electric for less money.
Yeah, you think so,
because my company...
But they would not be part of this, I imagine. Like a planned community, like a senior.
Well, if it's residential, they would be a part of it, unless they already have a third-party provider. Anyone that already has a third-party provider, they wouldn't
master account
be solicited. They would get to keep their third-party provider, and they wouldn't even be contacted by us. What we do, once you pass these ordinances, that allows the utility company, provides us with the list of people that don't have a third-party provider, and then we would reach out to all of them.
So one last question. Yeah. So I have solar on my house. That doesn't, the different companies and so forth, it's not going to affect...
As long as it's not a third-party provider, if you still have a bill, from...
yeah, those guys.
Right.
Yeah, those guys.
Okay. Well, I'd say we're all in agreement.
Yeah. We're all in agreement for a presentation.
I would work with...
Maybe bring somebody from, you said the BPU as well, and a mayor.
Yeah, we traditionally do that, because obviously they don't sanction, but they say we support above this program is what they'll tell you, and talk about their experience, and the other mayors will certainly talk about their experience and, any public reaction or misconception.
And the public outreach you do very well, so you can get that feedback.
Well, Mr. Holberg's in charge of municipal affairs, and Carol can help schedule it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And our meetings are always the second and fourth Tuesday, so whatever works, just schedule with Carol.
Yeah, right. At your convenience, whenever. The only thing I say is there's certain advantages to get you on before the summer, because that's when the bills are the largest. So that way we want to do it, by I think it's March or April. You'd have to have the second reading.
Right. So it takes some time.
Yeah.
Government moves slow, right?
Government moves slow. I'll be the first to admit that.
Sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
Sometimes it's not.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Melissa, for bringing that up.
Sure, thanks for coming, Alan.
Yeah. All right, there are no reports or notices. We'll move right into the next item on the agenda is the manager's report. Mr. Holberg.
Okay. We had our kickoff meeting for the 2016 FEMA elevation grant today. Homeowners in the second grant round will be able to start the first steps toward their elevation process as a result of that. I'd like to schedule a couple workshop meetings with council to review municipal facilities. Is everyone available at 6 on the 23rd?
What day of the week is that?
That's Tuesday.
I think it's a
the day before our
Tuesday.
regular meeting.
Oh, okay.
That's a council meeting.
All right.
Yeah.
So you gotta be here anyway.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's a yes, everybody?
I'm good.
Okay, we're good. Carol, remind us twice, 3 times.
And then just a list of upcoming activities. With regards to the heat in this room, I do have a quote. We're waiting on one more. It's not inexpensive. So before we go ahead and fix it, we do want the second quote. And as soon as we get it,
We'll move it forward.
try and move forward.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is council reports. Councilwoman Florence Lynch.
I just had a couple of follow-ups, but I see one person just walked in that I was going to bring up. I wondered if we had done the research for we said we'd look up the 78 Mountain Ave sewer connection issue, so I just wondered if there was communication on that.
Not yet. I've
Okay.
been out ill, unfortunately, most of last
Okay.
week. So
You sound sick.
I know, I hope I'm not sick. Next.
And other than that, I really didn't have anything. Economic Development will be meeting next Wednesday. I passed 2 things on to you, Dave, that were just some issues with County Road, but County
I
Road
saw that, and there was
improvements.
a response.
And there was a response. And the other one, there was another issue on the Turnpike that, I don't know if that one was resolved with the manhole cover, so I'll forward that to you again.
That's also a repeat, and he has been responded to. He doesn't like the answer.
Okay. Thank you. That was it.
Okay, great. Councilman Cole.
Parks and Rec met last night. Polar Plunge has been postponed until the 21st because of the severe cold weather. We talked about the ice at Woodland Lake. Pete Coriel would like to come up with a formal something in writing about, how it's going to be checked, when it's going to be checked, because right now there's nothing in writing, and it is very concerning, letting people out on the lake.
Yeah, people drown.
Yeah, Pete said, really, it should be, at least 2 people going out together, you should have proper things in case you do fall through to, try to help yourself get out of the water. But, he says we really should come up with something in writing for that. So we all agreed on that. We did talk again about the field usage ordinance. We did run into a little bit of a snag with one of the teams that has been, or one of the organizations that has been using the fields for a number of years and paying the nonprofit rate, and now they are supposedly not allowed to use the in-town rate anymore. So we're going to have to try to work that out. And let's see, the 10th annual First Aid Squad Casino Night is January 20th at 6:30 at Holy Spirit School, and they took 69 calls during the month of December. And that's all I have.
Well, one thing that's interesting, too, is you talk about the ice, and I know it's not deep, but the ice at Greenview Park, I mean, they're playing ice hockey there, and I know it's frozen because it's been so cold, but even before then, is anybody checking and monitoring that? Is the park ranger going over there?
I mean, we do monitor it. It's not as, we're not as concerned.
Yeah, they're not going to drown, but they're just going to fall in and get wet.
Stand up,
2 feet of water.
Right.
The Woodland's really worse.
But I know we put a lot of money into that for that bottom so that it doesn't leak, and if somebody does put their skate through all that work that you put in there so that it would hold water, that'd be an issue too.
Barbara also mentioned last night that in the past, when Denise was here, there was a ice checking course that she could send people to. they've searched everywhere. There seems to be nothing left, to send someone to know all about the different ices that you see and what's safe, what's not safe. But
I think a park ranger should know that.
Yeah.
There's nothing on YouTube?
Maybe you'll find something through, our dive team does ice rescue training. You probably find something on the emergency response side.
Okay.
It's just been years since we had ice.
Yeah,
it's been a long time
that's
since
what
we
she
had
said.
ice.
It's like the first time in like 4 or 5 years that we've actually had
ice. Yeah.
Going back to the field, do you want to discuss that now, or do you want to make this a discussion item for a future agenda?
Well, there's 3 organizations, Patriots, the Crunch, and the Sparks. Sparks is a nonprofit. Patriots is a nonprofit. The Crunch is not, and we know that he didn't want to become a nonprofit. So we changed it from a non-for-profit profit to resident and non-resident.
Based on insurance.
We said that if the insurance certificate had a Pequannock address, it would be good, but there was also something that said, or other. And I guess Pete and Parks and Rec checked one of the Sparks teams, and there's only like 4 or 5 Pequannock girls on that team. So they're saying that that is not a non-Pequannock team. The girls' varsity softball coach from the high school was one of the coaches. I believe the police chief in town here is one of the coaches. There's several town figures that are coaches for the Sparks. I said to Pete, maybe we should just, those 3 teams or organizations pay the resident fee, and if there's any new teams that come, they have to provide either something to prove that the players are residents.
You mean like grandfather them? Something like grandfather them in?
Yeah,
Here we go again.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Here we go again.
We solve one problem and create another.
Yeah, I know.
I was actually going to be a little tougher on the residency requirement than Pete. He wanted, just more than 50% of the players to be residents. I was thinking it should be more like 75% of plurality rather than just a majority. But
let's think about why we were doing it, right? The reason is so that residents could use the fields and not non-residents get in before a resident
residents
gets.
wouldn't be locked out by.
It wasn't about making money, because there's not a money. It was about priority.
Correct.
Right? That's what it was all about, priority, right?
He did say that we could come up with just one fee and actually determine how much is the cost to keep the fields at he says, but that's going to be a much higher rate than what we have right now. So
it was about priority.
It was.
Because there was an issue at a time, but I don't know. I don't know if anybody has a magical solution, or we want to put our heads together again, or I don't like that it's a lot of money. It's exorbitant what's happening to this organization.
Yeah. So he came in to pay, and they told him no, he couldn't pay because that's not the rate. So
we need to resolve it pretty quickly.
I say we grandfather those 3 in, and then any new organization that comes in, they have to prove that they're Pequannock residents.
That's probably the simplest way to do it.
That's the simplest.
And this way, somebody new coming in is just going to have to learn the rules of the game.
Right.
I think that's a good suggestion. I don't know how you feel about it. I want to think about it and come back at the next time. Put it on the agenda.
If you have another idea.
I could stop in before the next council meeting and talk to Pete. I don't want to wait until the next Parks and Rec meeting.
No, it takes too long.
Until February.
No. I'm okay with the grandfathering. I don't know how many else feels about it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with grandfathering.
Melissa?
I'm okay with
I think
that,
you got our
unless there's a
support.
better resolution.
Yeah, unless Pete comes up with something better, but, I think just grandfathering the 3 organizations in.
And be done with it.
Right, be done with it.
We beat this one to death.
Yeah. It's almost as bad as the chickens and the dolphins.
And the goldfish. You don't remember the goldfish.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't
You weren't here for the goldfish.
Were you here for the ducks?
I was here for the ducks.
Yeah, we were here the ducks. You didn't get the goldfish, though. Okay.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, being the new mayor, I think we need to have a civics lesson. Because I got bombarded with emails with people who think I have superpowers. And I don't have superpowers. Is there a way to somehow where residents can ask a question of the township, like not the manager, whatever, and get to the right department to get the right answer? Because I got questions like the Woodland Lake, the potholes. I got complaints about the decorations, they weren't robust enough. I got complaints about the emergency.
Kathy, how long have you been mayor?
Yeah, I think. But I don't mind, but I'm not, you want a faster answer, I'm not the one to go to. I just slow the answer down because in our form of government, we're all council people who are equal, and we elect the mayor, and Mr. Holberg is the official, not the official, he is the hired manager who runs all municipal affairs. And I just want people to be serviced fast on what they need when they need answers. So, I mean, I even got a whole laundry list of more things.
Anyone who calls either my office or the clerk's office, Diane or Michelle.
They get to the right place.
Go out of their way to, if they don't have the answer, find the correct place for those people to be transferred to.
But I'm new in town, I just moved in, what do I do?
So who should they be calling? Yeah, should it be the manager, Diane, the clerk?
Either one, manager's office or clerk's office. We both act as kind of gatekeepers in certain instances.
I know the website at one time had FAQs, or, it's kind of just like, you have a question, you don't know who to go to. If somebody didn't know.
Problem is, there are so many different diverse topics that...
I know. And I don't mind being the air traffic controller, but I just really slow things down because I do have a day job.
And if you get questions like that, forward it to me or Diane.
Okay.
Forward it to me and copy Diane.
I don't mind. I just would really like people to if they opened up our website and they had a question, they would be able to find the answer of where to go to. Like if I don't know something, call this, click this, ask this, whatever. And that may be something for the future, but I just really want to be helpful to the residents so that they get the answers.
Kind of things.
Yeah, kind of how I find things.
Don't forget me, Kathy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, did I skip you? Well, then you're last. Yeah, I thought I said, no?
No.
I must have dreamed that. Somebody brought up about the emergency message that Bobby Joe has on, like it's from the flood. Do we go in and update that and say there's no current messages or something? They must have called during the storm.
The radio station.
On the radio station or on?
No, they called the number, the telephone.
Probably called that number then.
All right.
Yeah, that's one of the things. And
No current emergencies.
and then
Recreation used to use that for cancellation, so it would normally get overwritten
I don't think they have.
anyway. But
Okay, and then I guess Melissa and Rich, we're going to do something for David Way for recognition from his service on the planning board.
Next.
Did you start something?
I was going to put it on the next agenda, either the next one or the one after that, depending on his availability.
Okay, all right, so that's in the works.
Yeah, she was working on that.
Okay, and then, I'm not sure who it was, if it was you, David, or Carol. The ribbon cutting for the Martinberry House is going to be May 5th, and they're, the town crier. How did we get the town crier for the 275th? Was that you, or was that Carol?
That was me.
yeah.
Do you have the information for them, for that group?
I must.
Okay, all right. We had our historic preservation meeting, and they just pretty much, the only thing new that they had come up is that now the Martinberry Group, the Historic Society, will be part of the Pathways separately from the Historic Commission. They're going to go to the meetings and be as two different groups. So that's going to happen. That'll be different. And they do have the Eagle project they're working on for the garden and the exterior improvements at the train station. That's all I have. And Councilman Failing, I'm so sorry I missed you.
No, that's not a problem. It's better to be last than not at all. Don't forget, the installation dinner is Saturday, 6 o'clock you have to be there, because the installation dinner is going to go quick into the program. So don't show up at 7 because you may miss.
You'll have missed it.
You may have missed something. Company number 1 met on Friday. Company 2 has a meeting this Thursday. They're kind of excited about the new digital. Dave, when are we going to flip the switch since all the radios have been reprogrammed?
Chris Bell was, actually, Chris and the two chiefs were handling that.
Okay, so you're not involved in it. I know most of it.
They worked out all the details.
Okay,
I said,
so
as
they're
long as
just
they were
waiting
both
for the-
happy,
right.
goodbye.
You're happy.
Well, just as I said, I think I told Dave and I told Kathy, but I didn't tell Melissa that fire's going over to digital. They're going to dispatch on analog, but it's going to be digital after that point.
But our phones will still work.
Yes. Yes, I got that covered. Don't worry. Okay.
All right, because I find it very interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it?
Except in the middle of the night.
Planning Board met yesterday, and we have a couple of new members, including Mayor Winterfield.
Yes.
So you will enjoy being on Planning Board. I think we won't have anything until early February, so.
It'll be a lot better when there's heat.
And it'll be a lot better when there's heat, yes. That's it.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is public comment. Individuals are requested to limit their comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized and come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Ladies, no, I pointed at you, but I didn't call you. Jackie.
Hey, thank you. Jackie Stavala, 7 Pateria Place. Happy New Year, and yeah, the heat. Boy, I wish I had one of those quilts. Isn't Rose amazing? Everybody's so nice doing all that. Okay, so before Christmas, we were told that we'd get a report for the skate park numbers, and have those numbers come in from the Pilar Design Group.
The amount is $382,300 and some odd dollars.
Wait, $382,000?
$382,332 and 10 cents.
And 10 cents. Okay, so just to reiterate, $150,000 was set aside for the skate park and $25,000 for the design?
Correct.
Correct, okay, so where is the rest of that money going to come from? I know it's going to be, is it going to be us?
The council would have to set aside more money if they so choose to do that. It's an awful lot of money, $232,000 short.
What was the amount short? Sorry.
Give or take $232,000 and 10 cents.
Short, okay. Well, I'll put the 90 cents in. Okay, so now, since we've had this meeting, we know that there's no heat in here, and you're talking about getting heat, which is kind of important. You know, it's a municipality thing, and my fingers are frozen. That's something we could spend money on. And the other thing is, when you talked about the in-town group for the rate for the Sparks, the Patriots, and the Crunch, and you're going to let them they have to pay to use the fields, correct?
Correct.
And just putting it out there that, how much is the skate park people going to pay when they use the skate park?
We haven't discussed that yet.
Okay, because I'm hearing it was zero, a zero amount. So here you're giving 3 groups that have been paying in for all this time. They use our fields and probably raise funds, a fee, which I'll find out who the Patriots, Crunch, and Sparks are, and I'll let them know that these people are just going to come in and have it for free. And lastly, I did talk to the DEP today. I talked to Dennis, I don't know how to say his last name. He's a supervising engineer for the DEP. And, I know we said that the plans have to come in before you can submit them. I did ask about the dirt being removed. I found out that a bunch of different things, which, of course, I'm sure all of you know, but I want the town people to know. When you remove dirt, you have to do that zero fill thing, and all these different, if you're going to take the trees down. Now, the biggest thing that he said is, For conservation and recreation, you need a change of use procedure, you need the public notice, which of course we know Carol will be in charge of. She was great when you said about calling. Diane and Carol are great getting you to the right department. Have hearings, put it in the paper, you need to have transparency. And that's all I'm requesting from each and every one of you, as people that live in this town, and just to be transparent. And I've contacted many of you with calls and requests. And also I know Ryan's not here, but when you do get requests via email, make sure the people live in town that are bombarding you with emails. Don't count those as the influx of people who are paying the taxes and supporting what we do in this town. I appreciate your time. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Come on up.
Thank you. Bob Sidoti, 85 Mountain Ave. I was here last meeting, right? We talked about the sewer thing. I know you just brought it up, Melissa. Thank you very much. Dave, you didn't get a chance to look at it yet, right?
I've seen it. I haven't had a chance to respond yet, but I will tomorrow.
Last month, and I appreciate that idea you had about the fast answers, because this has been going on for me for around 6 weeks now. I know that Mr. Osteich, Mr. Holberg, Mr. Golden, you've already had a meeting on it. You already went over it. You denied it for whatever reason. I believe you said that the council had to all make that decision. At least that's the email I got. I mean, I can share it with you all if you want to see it. But now the council's telling me that it's back to you, so...
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused.
You weren't here the last
I'm sorry, I had to actually work during that day. I do have a day job like Kathy.
We're not independently wealthy.
Right. Unfortunately, I couldn't get away. From what I understand, you're looking to have sewers hooked up to your property. Am I getting this right?
Yeah.
It's a new law.
I'll explain it to you real quick. I sent you a long email.
Right, okay, you're the wood guy.
I'm the wood guy.
Yeah, okay, you do wood floors, right? I need to talk to you later, but okay.
That's fine. We can make a deal.
We can make a deal.
No, basically, it's 78 Mountain Avenue. It's already sewered.
Right.
Okay, but I'm subdividing the property. The law, the ordinance says anytime real property is within 100 feet of the sewer, you have to connect, right?
I thought it was 200 feet, but okay.
No, it's in the email.
Right.
It's 100 feet. Lawfully you have to collect.
Right.
Mr. Osteich was of the opinion that at the last meeting, he said, well, that more or less pertained to existing, septics, okay? Whereas, this would be a new lot, okay? Well, the way I see that is if I go ahead and build the septic system on a new lot within 100 feet of the sewer line, then I'm building it contrary to the law.
Okay.
Right? That's the way I see it. So I know Mr. Holberg, I know Mr. Osteich, I know Mr. Golden already went over the whole thing. In fact, I hired an attorney. He sat down with him. It cost me a whole bunch of money. Quite frankly, he's asking me, he thinks it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what you've all talked about, but Mr. Sabrini basically thinks that he doesn't know where you're going with it. He's asking me if I want to sue you. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I just don't know what else to do.
So how does it fall back into the council's? I just heard you say that the council
Because we talked about interpretation of
that's not, that's,
I
if
thought it
I
had to
can
be on the
interject.
master sewer plan.
We don't.
Okay.
No, there is no master. I read the whole master plan.
There is a master sewer plan.
No, there's a master
Yeah, but
plan.
for
There's about a page and a half that talks about sewer.
Areas of town that we're going to sewer.
Yeah, but
There's a separate
areas,
sewer
are
master
they
plan,
individual
which is what we keep
properties?
referring to, and I think that's maybe where there's some miscommunication.
All right, so let me ask you a simple question then. The ordinance, that subsection, whatever it is, that's on the books now, okay, the 100-foot rule, that doesn't, does that have anything, it holds no weight?
If we have no capacity left,
I talked to
and
Tom
somebody's
Bonds with
within
Bonnie.
100 feet, how can the homeowner force us to put them in the sewer?
But you're forcing homeowners to sewer. I mean, the law works both ways.
Right.
Mr. Holberg will respond to you. He has been out ill, and if he needs counsel to be involved, he will let us know. We can't operate just like that. Things are very legal, and we have to have things on our agenda,
Right, okay.
proposed to us.
Just for the record.
We pass ordinances.
Just for the record, I would like to say that I've already retained an attorney. They've already had a meeting. They sent me an email, which I forwarded to all of you, basically saying that they're reverting it back to the council, okay? And that the council has to make a decision.
No.
I came before the council last meeting, and now you're referring it back to Mr. Holberg.
Council is a policy-making body, so the policy has been, continues to be, that we don't allow connections outside the priority area of the sewer master plan. So that, that would be council's decision to change that policy, which they've talked about several times over the past couple of years, and each time they've decided not to change it because we do have very limited capacity at TVSA. Notwithstanding that TVSA does have capacity, but the amount that Pequannock Township owns is extremely limited.
And we can't pick and choose. We either change the policy or follow the policy, and that's where we're at right now. And
well, doesn't right now it says if you're within 100 feet, you have
I
to
believe
connect.
that you're taking that out of context. I'm not an attorney, but I believe what you're reading is out of context, and I would...
Yeah, the 100 feet has nothing to do with the sewer master plan. The 100 feet is if you are within 100 feet of a sewer, and there is sewerage available for you where you are, then you're required to connect. The master plan says we are not doing any more sewerage in this area. That's the distinction. They do not. That 100 feet is not part of the sewer master plan. The sewer master plan deals with what areas are going to be sewered. The 100 feet deals with once you have an area sewered, the 100-foot connection applies. And those are two separate areas of regulation. So
I haven't found this sewer master plan. I don't think it's on the website.
It's very large. I just received a PDF of it today, which we'll get on the website.
All right, so you think you need about a week? You can get it?
Yeah, within a couple days I will respond. Like I said, I saw your email. It brings a couple points, including the master plan, so I did request a copy of that. I just got it today. So I'll respond to all the points that you brought up.
All right. So let me just ask a question. 78 Mountain, is that by West End? Are you on the corner of West End and Mountain?
No, I live in the brick house next to that.
Oh, you live in the brick house next to
Right. The 78 is across the street from my house, the White House.
Where's the sewer running down there?
It stops right in front of the property.
It's like... That's
right there.
We've had those issues before.
What's that?
We've had issues like this before.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out, understand his issue, and kind of put the whole thing in context.
Which, to give you a little history,
we've exceeded the 5 minutes, all right?
I brought the sewer line down the road when I built my house.
I remember, I read the email.
Okay.
All
right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I understand.
Okay.
Good night.
Come on up. Bob. Remember to state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
I've done this 3 times and I still hate doing this.
No, you're good.
Bob Morley, 4 Jacksonville Road, Pompton Plains. Talk about the skate park specifically. I had seen I don't know what it was, but it agreed with your $374,000.
$382,322.10.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about it because I don't know if that's a final or it's proposed or what. I want to be, there are a lot of things that concerned me from what I saw on that. I was hoping that somebody from the company was going to be available because the question...
There will be a presentation at some point.
That would be better ask them, but I don't know how familiar you are as a panel, as a group, with these bids and looking at these bids, and there are things that are missing.
Okay, let me stop you right there. This is not a bid. This is when we go out to bid something, that's when the actual price will be.
I know, I understand.
What we have is an estimate.
I understand. What you have is an estimate, but it's an estimate that's missing. It's like, it's an estimate that's missing a significant portion. It would be like if if you asked me to estimate building a house, and I said, okay, it's going to cost you, $200,000 to build this house, but, here's the estimate for $200,000, but of course that doesn't actually include the walls and, the roof, That's basically what you have.
And I tend to agree with you. I think as we go forward, I think this thing is going to vet itself out. I'm a little concerned with the amount of money that this is going to cost, and it could cost even more. So I'm looking forward to the presentation from the company so that I can ask my pointed questions, and I'm raising my concern here right now, the cost of this thing. Okay?
But I'm not, I also want to go to another issue. In addition to, as I said, there's significant portions, and not line item. I'm not talking about line items. I'm talking about significant portions, things that are missing on it.
I haven't even seen the final design myself yet. And all that.
Well, the item that I saw was a one-page, and where they came up, clearly whoever prepared it has no idea what the law regarding payment, labor payment in New Jersey is.
What are you looking at?
Somebody sent it to me. It's the same thing you got. If the numbers agree, it's the same thing you got. It's got to be the same thing you got.
Will that number be shared with the council? Because I don't believe we have
We're going to have a
received it yet.
presentation.
All right, no, but everybody else seems to have it except the other council.
The advisory committee had it, and I think it went to Mr.
Anyway,
I don't know if it's final yet.
Yeah,
I don't even know if it's final.
The 70s, that's, there's two other things. They ignored their own, there's several things in their ELP report here that aren't considered at all in there. And the one thing I do want to bring up, I brought this up before and I brought it up again. When you do look at that, the first half of it are costs that are associated with specifically with putting it in the location that you've chosen to put it in, which total roughly $90,000, give or take, which is $90,000 you have to spend to put it there versus Greenview or Foothills or basically almost anywhere else in this town. So I was hoping that, there was a way to contact these people or be in touch with them or whatever, because I have a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, but, anyway.
We will have a final presentation. There will be one. The contract requires another presentation so that everybody can see it and ask their questions. So there will be an opportunity when it's scheduled.
Yeah, you have the presentation, but maybe I just, like I said, maybe I know.
Well, I think it's a good time to ask your questions.
I think I would hope the council is aware that as I said, there's, by their own accounting, there's $90,000 you're spending, and that's on the best case scenario. That's $90,000 on the best case scenario that you're spending by putting it in Washington or in the field there versus anywhere else in the town. So I think you all should be aware of that. That's basically what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Louise?
Louise Marchese of 16 Roland Road. Just to clarify, I believe it's $250,000 that was appropriated this year?
$150,000.
I thought it was $250,000.
No, $150,000.
It's $150,000? Okay. That's clarified. The other thing is, I'm a member of the county's Republican Committee, and I also schedule the speakers for the Republican Club each month. All 5 of you are Republicans, and you have been elected as Republicans, and I'm asking for your help. When I started going to the club 32 years ago, if you didn't get there early enough, you wouldn't get a seat. Things have changed, and it's not anybody's fault. It's changed, period. I get that. But please, I'm asking for the 5 of you, and I'm going to send Ryan an email. We need your help. Attendance is down extremely low. Membership is down very low. As I said, I hired the speakers, but it's difficult to have somebody come from the county, and there's only maybe 5 or 6 people sitting in the audience. No, it's an embarrassment. So please, I'm asking for your help. Anything that you could do for Pequannock's Republican Club, I appreciate. Thank you.
Louise, I work 11 hours a day. I have maybe 100 people working for me now, okay? I come home, I'm tired. I will try to get to the meeting to try to help you out, but, there are other things in our lives besides the Republican Club and this and that and everything else, but we'll see.
Mention it to friends and neighbors?
Yes.
Maybe you can combine a couple meetings.
Right.
We
Make them one.
continue to help you, and we'll get...
We are trying to come up with ideas, but as I said, in scheduling speakers, I don't want,
How
to
about a
have 5,
dinner
6
meeting? How about we
people.
could eat at the same time?
It's a thought. Thank you.
That might be a good idea.
Many times we miss dinner. We don't have dinner many nights.
Thursday.
Yeah.
The 18th.
And Sandy.
It's on my calendar. Is that the date?
Yeah.
18th?
Hello, Sandy LaCourte for Pateri Place. I have, again, some observations, and I have 2 formal questions I'd like to ask that I think will alleviate a lot of the stress that's going on with the skate park idea. I would like to make a formal request that if this does move forward or gets to that point, that it goes to a township vote at the next election, and if you're saying that there is town support from this, you should not be afraid of that, because the vote will then prove that you are right. I, however, personally believe that there is not that kind of support for it, and I believe that your constituents, our residents, my neighbors and friends, we all deserve to have a full voice in this. So by what process do I need to fill out a form or request of you, or how do we bring this to the point that this topic will be brought to a township vote about this expenditure?
Okay, Cindy, I'll answer.
Okay, thank you, Rich.
We were elected to make decisions. I don't know if you were here when I said that. We hope to make all the right decisions, and so we're looking at a lot of money, and as far as I'm concerned, this is not going to happen with that kind of money. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, again, there are things we have to take into considerations. We have to listen to what whatever the guy, Pilfer, whatever his name is, has to say. I have a lot of questions for him. But to be honest with you, we were elected to make those decisions.
Okay, well, when the fields went up, we got to vote on that.
No.
That wasn't the council.
Us.
That was the Board of Ed. Oh, okay.
And that was about using money that they should have given back to you. That was different.
Okay. My other observation is, knowing that this started, about 6 or whatever years ago as a PV project, and I think
Even before that.
Even before that.
I believe your sons were skaters.
And your
My
son, not really skateboarders.
I got the DVD at home.
Well, that's better. But that wasn't
number 2.
That wasn't what we were asking. He was never asking for that, and that brings me to the next point: is that that was something that was on the side, and I don't see this project being student or children driven. I see it being young adult driven by people we don't even know are going to be in this community. They're at stages in their lives where they're going to be moving on. There's a lot of interest from other towns for us to build it. When we did our hockey program, I heard, what did they earned about in 6 years, like $2,000 or whatever, or $2,000 in the past 2 years. We earned $40,000 in 3 months. I think that kind of community support, parent support, student interest, that shows you the kind of a project or initiative that really shows support. I don't think we're really seeing that kind of support for this to be getting as much attention as it is, and to be considering that amount of expenditure.
We would want to see a large buy-in or from the group also.
Right, because there really has not been. And the other concern is, if I heard something about giving lessons, well, you know what? If you want to give lessons, why don't you open a business? They used to have specialty sports back over there, and they were able to, offer skateboarding and whatever lessons for the young people. But for us to build a skate park so somebody can give lessons and they can earn money, to me that's more of a business venture rather than something that our town should be funding.
But how do you feel, I just want to ask one little...
Sure.
I don't want to keep you up there, but...
Yeah, I'm sure you don't. Get over here.
No. Hey, our boys go way back.
Yeah, I remember that DVD.
Yeah, I was watching it the other day.
He's not asking for a skate park either.
No. I'm wondering how you feel about organized sports as opposed to not traditional type physical activities for kids in town, and how many of those do you think we offer or should offer?
I am in support of sport or athleticism in any kind. I'm actually a phys ed major, exercise physiologist. That's my original degree.
Right.
So of course I'm for that. But that's able to be done without, our kids did it and other kids have done it places without having...
legally. Yeah.
Without having to build a skate park.
Yeah. Well, what do you think the township should do? Do you think we should address it or not address it at all?
I think you have addressed it. I think you've really given it an ear. I know it's...
No, I'm talking about anything, even like a rock climbing wall or anything.
Of course.
I mean, what do you think that we should do for this other set of people who are not into traditional sports?
Well, rock climbing walls they're available too. You know, there's businesses. Hey, what about using those handball courts over at Grandview and sticking the little things on there and doing something? You could make that into a rock climbing wall. I am for that, but when it's going to cost as much money as we're talking about, and when there is as little interest as we're really seeing here from students and children, I don't think that's a good, cost-effective use of township money.
I have to agree with you. There were a lot more skaters back in the day, and you don't see them around now because our police have been doing such a really great job of kicking them out of where they should be. They came here and testified to that themselves. And I don't think we had many little leaguers before we had any fields either. I mean, I know there's been 9 overdoses this past year. I mean, there's a different group of children out there today. I mean, as a community, we can either address it or not, and I was just asking your opinion if you thought we should address it in any way or not.
The issue you're talking about, if you're talking about children who are not into the team sports and that they need another outlet,
and especially if they try out.
I'm with you on that. I'm like 100% with you on that. I'm not just I want kids to be involved and to find something that they're passionate about. My concern here is that our whole township is funding a giant skate park. I think there are other ways to do what you're saying that are more cost-effective and that can create those opportunities for the students in our town. And believe me, I have a very heartfelt concern for the drug and alcohol issues that are prevalent with our students. And so, yes, I am absolutely in support of that.
Okay.
But I do, like I said, my concern is spending that much money on that particular thing. I think there are other ways that maybe a smaller version of something where...
Here's the one thing that I can commit to you. Because I'm just one person here. There's 5 of us. That we are in our 8th year, Melissa, Rich, and I. And we have committed, one of our things was stabilizing taxes. And I don't think you've seen the 3 of us spike your taxes in those past 7 years. And I don't see why this year would be any different from this council. So you can be sure that when we put a budget together with Mr. Holberg, that it will not be doing anything like that, whatever makes it to the budget or doesn't make it to the budget. I don't think that is what we are thinking about. We're residents here too. And there's a lot of senior citizens here that we're concerned about too with their taxes. That has been our main focus and one of our main focus for running for council. And our election will be coming up this year again. And the 3 of us plan to run, and we plan to keep that same mindset. I don't think anybody could say that that is what we have done or what we are about, and I don't think this year will be any different.
And that's not what I am saying to you either. I did not say you've raised our taxes or anything. I'm talking about a specific expenditure designated for a specific purpose with what I see to be a small audience. I believe that there are other ways to reach that audience. I am in full agreement that there needs to be more of those kind of activities for students or children who are not into traditional sports. And so...
I know you do.
And through, can't this work through the MAC committee too? Can't they start, I heard the police giving their support. Why can't we come up with some other... I love the rock wall idea. And again, that's not going to be putting how much pavement all over anywhere, and that would give, another type of activity. I just think that this amount of money for this kind of thing, for this little bit of an audience, and that there's so much interest from out-of-towners, like,
Sandy,
you know.
like I said, trust us. We will make the right decision.
Okay. All right, I just thought, you know, if we all get to vote about it, it kind of...
Well, you vote us out if we...
Vote us out if you don't.
Yeah, but we might already have a skate park by then.
Won't happen that quick.
All right. I'm just busting you. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
There's somebody in the back again.
Kyle?
Bye, Alan.
I think I'm warming up a little. Kyle Russell, 6'1". I know if I move a lot, if I'm jumping, it's because my toes are cold. I understand that Pillar's going to be giving their presentation. Will whatever stuff that's out there, the design, be available to the public so we can make educated questions? You know, when they come in and they give their presentation, you're like, oh, and then, 2 days later, oh, I should have asked him this. So if we had a chance to view that, the public, in advance, then we could have our questions ready. And they would be educated questions.
It seems like it's out there. Bob's got it. I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
I'm glad you asked that because I actually was going to ask that, but please on your phone, so
Good, Kyle, because
All right, so I'm sure we'll have something ahead of the presentation for people to ask their questions, but I'm going to go back to my original statement. It's going to come down to money, guys. It's not going to come down to how high is this ramp, is this one too hard, is this too long? It's money, 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 money.
Right, and if Bob said, since he has it, if it's not including everything, then...
Again, I understand that. When we get the presentation, then we have a better feel for what's going on. I myself have a large concern over $382,322.
And Kyle, I'd say, of our 7 years on council, Mr. Holberg has not had any project go awry. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to review these things. Usually they come in under budget. He's not going to let us get into hot water and get something.
I know, it's just,
By the way, he's leaving in June.
I was going to say, and he might not be here to run that because he'll be leaving shortly. So I just think, if we all come to this design presentation, it would be nice if we had this stuff ahead of time to do research.
I'm sure we'll get out before then, but like I said to you, it's not about how high the ramp is, because that's
No, I don't care about how high the ramp is.
No, but that's my point.
I care about is there fencing.
And you have to always remember, an estimate is not a bid. They're very different at times.
No, I understand, and like I said.
And we know that.
Do we have any idea when this presentation is going to happen?
Yeah, based on their availability, I think it's going to be the end of February, but I hadn't distributed the design yet because I had some follow-up questions for him before I did that.
All right.
It'd be premature.
Yeah.
My concern is just that make sure that everything that we need is in it. Fencing, lighting, whatever. So we have an accurate figure.
But
you don't have that
again,
money.
we're going into budget
You don't have that
talks.
Well, from discussions, we don't know. Like, we don't know if you need certain things for...
I read the GIF. You can read the GIF. It says you don't have to. All you have to do is read it.
How does that happen with budget talks?
We sit down and we say, well...
We have pizza and we talk.
Right. You're welcome to come. We'll save you some pizza.
Carb-free. I'll take a salad.
We have that too.
Good. What about, so you won't allocate any more money right now towards a skateboard?
The way I see it, I'm not allocating any more.
We don't know what we're doing.
Everybody else is doing, but I will...
We don't know what's in the capital budget at this point.
I don't know how we put the money in without having a presentation.
That's what I'm saying. How can you add any money in without knowing how much?
We're not even to budget time yet.
Yeah, but
we're not far.
The budget is going to be done before the presentation.
Correct.
No.
So...
No, we won't. No.
I don't think so.
No.
End of February?
No.
We'll be in the middle of it.
No, we don't finish budget by then.
All right, well, just make sure that gets distributed before we have the presentation.
In March.
And that everything's included.
I don't remember what the dates are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sandy.
To your point,
If you would like to put together some kind of a committee, or I would love to come up with some cost-effective ways to provide opportunities for our youth to get physical activity or non-traditional.
There is a new teen advisory that was formed. You may want to be part of that.
Okay, then you'll let me know about it, or?
Yeah, we'll let you know about it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I would definitely volunteer my services towards that initiative.
Thank you.
All right, that's a great idea.
And you
Thanks.
have a lot of experience, thanks.
I do.
Yeah. Come on up.
You got one in the back, two in the center.
Sorry, guys. You got to really stand up.
Hello, Lorraine Mercier Robertson, 128 West End Avenue. I am here about the skate park. I have heard everything that was said. I appreciate that our taxes have not risen, but I do have environmental concerns. I don't know if you're aware, but I was very much a part of the National Guard with all the evacuations that have gone on. So I know the flood areas quite well. But what I'd like to bring up is not just the flood area there, but the decline in the students in our town. There's a 6-year history of the age groups that have fallen, including with the skate parks. I have tons and tons of data and research because that's what I do for the fraud department where I work. I am concerned about the vetting, and I am concerned that even our police department has said that they are going to agree, or they believe in our skate park, or if it's just activities. I'd like to hear that corrected. I'd like to also know, has the town looked at pros and cons of a skate park?
We've been talking about this since October 2015.
But have a lot of the cons come up with the amount of skate parks closing? Like just general research, and this was in 15 minutes. I learned that in 2015, the average cost to build a skate park with minimal facilities is $45 a square foot. That's a real low that's a low estimate, and based on the estimate our town was given, it's even more frightening.
Are you comparing concrete to concrete?
Yes, this is concrete. This also talked about the additional costs that when you are in a flood area, that not only is the concrete an issue, it's also the drainage. I'm not an engineer, but that would require additional piping underneath to prevent backflow. And I am concerned when, you ride around town and you see kids, riding bikes without helmets, and you see them hanging out at Quick Check, you see them over at CVS, and we know that they're under 17 and under 16. So my concern would be that if our town were to go forward with any kind of a park like this, that they would be looking at what our federal regulations are as well. And when I was with the Department of Defense, all the bills that I worked on for the state were not only at state level, but we exceeded so that we would cover. So that is my other concern, that we look at that way. And the reason the environmental issue is a big concern of mine, when we were putting the fields in our town behind North Boulevard School, I remember standing at the high school talking about, that barrier of trees and the importance of keeping it up, that when you have trees that are over 100 years old, that strong windstorms, etc., would cause damage. And basically, I was kind of laughed at. And if you were to take a ride today, after Sandy, there's over 100 trees on the North Boulevard field that back our property, part of it even into Jackie's property. And my husband and I maintain that field as well as I'm sure that Jackie does. And we're picking up constantly bongs, pipes, spray cans from kids huffing. We pick up joints. We pick up all kinds of unopened vodka bottles and beer bottles. So there's a problem in our town with drug and alcohol. I do believe that. It's been here forever. So it's not something new. It's how do we address it? Do we maybe improve on our communication courses in school? The bullying on Facebook with adults certainly is a good indication of where our kids are today.
The apple never falls far from the tree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and, I would never go to Clifton and say, hey, do you think we could do this? Or go into even Jersey City. and I've been in many areas that offer activities. So I'm all for working solutions. I'll be happy to join with youth activities. I've done a lot of programs with the National Guard and the state at the Department of Defense level, and there's a solution if we look for the solution.
We know there's a program going on across the street right now.
Yes, and I could not believe the attendance just trying to come into this parking lot, how impressive that is, and that shows me that there's a real need for education. Drugs were a problem in the 70s in the town, in the 80s, and, one suicide is too many. And with my work with the military, I've seen 32 people take their lives, and one life is too many.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the gentleman back there, yes.
Hi, how is everyone? Sorry, I don't really do this much, but
name and address.
I got Matt Blockett.
Name and address.
Matt Blockett, 164 West End Avenue. And I guess just hearing all this about the skate park, I guess just one of the main questions would be, have you or anyone conducted any kind of surveys for like the youth of Pequannock, like whether it's the Hillview, MBS, and those kind of kids? Because I feel like you guys and myself, we're not going to use the skate park, so there's no real part of us arguing about it except for the cost-wise like that. We should really be focusing on the kids who would actually use it. That should be probably the main interest. I don't know if building the skate park itself is going to increase the demand for skateboarding. I think that's something that you have to look at and maybe potentially survey some of these kids and see if any demand would increase, especially if we're going to pay the $1,000, not including probably insurance and upkeep and things like that. That might be something you might want to look at before going forward with.
Well, I believe the skate park advisory had, for 2 years, had been at the hoedowns, and they had been at the street fairs, and they did talk to people, and they did provide feedback from that. And I believe that Councilman Cole and Mr. Holberg gave presentations at the middle schools, and didn't you inquire in the classrooms, ask them about...
It was fifth grade last year.
Yeah, I don't know why you were there or whatever that was.
Fifth grade at Hillview.
Yeah, I don't know. And I know you polled them, and they seemed pretty interested.
I think a good way, just like pulling, like using computers or something, and just get actual hard data, because it seems like a lot of people have hard data here about how little interest there is, but of course there is no skate park, so you're not going to have a bunch of kids riding around.
Right,
so I think that's something you'll have to look at and really show some hard data for the audience here to make them more comfortable with it, or maybe it shows you that there isn't an interest and this is a good thing not to really pursue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? No? Okay, public comment is closed. There's no minutes for approval. Next on the agenda, do we have any closed session? We do not. Okay. So there's no closed session this evening.
So I'll make a motion.
Go ahead. What is that motion?
To close.
I'll second. All right.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, Bob?
Yeah.